Last orders at the bar.
A night in with Mauler and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, I feel safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, Mauler and the critical drinker.
All right, mateys.
Hello, hello, hello.
How's it all going for everybody? I hope you enjoyed your open bar experience the other night. And, well, here we are, as always, with Last Orders to catch up on the supers that we missed on the nights.
Yes, indeed.
Are you ready, Mauler?
I'm so ready.
All right, my soul is ready. My body's ready. Let's get into this. Ant Rodriguez says, it's so crazy that Andor is doing great right now, but a lot of people on your post on Twitter kept saying, I don't give a fuck. It just goes to show how much damage has been done to the brand already. Sad but true.
Yeah, not much you can do about that.
All I can do is reassure people, if you do invest the time to watch Andor, it's a good experience and you will not have wasted your time. But I totally get why people are down on Star Wars. Mr. Taco Bouti says, appreciate Tony, Dan, and Bo. Star Wars may never be this good again. Mauler, Backstory Mag interviewed Dan Gilroy on episodes 7 to 9. It's worth checking out. He breaks down his writing process. Great stuff. Might not make EFAP, but worth a look if you can get to it beforehand.
This was like a behind the scenes, or is it an interview or something?
I think it's an interview, yeah. So it's called Backstory Mag. I guess it's a publication. And they interviewed Dan Gilroy on his writing process for 7, 8, and 9.
All right, yeah, I'll check it out.
Nice. Mr. Nobody says, Last of Us Season 2 did something amazing. It made me reflect fondly on Part 2. I didn't think it was possible to tell a worse version of this story, let alone less competently, but they did it. Druckmann subverts my expectations yet again. He's good that way, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, reliable.
He's the gift that keeps on giving, truly. JS Pena says, Age of Ultron turned 10 last week. Thoughts on the film?
It's like, oh, man, it's so complicated. I love Ultron's first proper scene, and then he sucks throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah, I think frustrating would probably be the best way to describe Age of Ultron. The potential is amazing. The trailer looked amazing. I love the idea of what Ultron is. I just hate the goofy humor that they tried to overuse in this one.
Clearly, over-injected because he probably got a little too dark in the original version. This is the film that made Joss abandon Marvel, so his whatever his fucking vision was, it got completely squashed. And it's weird because Ultron's first scene is way creepier than any other one.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have killed to have that version where Ultron is ruthless and uninterested in, like, you know, any excuses the Avengers try to pull for why they're heroes and stuff, and just to dress them down while simultaneously prepping Earth for what Ultron. But like, I always thought that there would have been a cool story of Ultron anticipating Thanos and trying to prepare Earth for it, and they kill him, destroy him, and a warning that they fucked up beyond how they could imagine it, sort of thing. There's that. There's also just Ultron is filled with loads of these weird scenes that only serve purpose for future films.
Yeah.
There was the mistake in trying to drive Black Widow and Hulk together. A lot of time is spent trying to make that work, and not even the MCU believed in it. They abandoned it soon after. There's the overcompensation with Hawkeye. The first film got criticism for not giving him enough, and so Joss decided to fucking hyper focus on him, and it felt, to me at least, very weird. Like, oh, Hawkeye, you're the heart of the team. It's like, no. But like,
he was a neat concept in the first Avengers, where he's actually this slightly dark, mysterious character, like, with, it's quite cool. But then they tried to make him just the family man, this kind of butt of a lot of the humor, and
we love Hawkeye, don't we? And you're like, yeah, sure, I guess. I'm fine with Hawkeye. I don't hate Hawkeye, but why are you trying so hard all of a sudden? Yeah. But there's loads of little interactions I really like. There's loads of bits and bobs, and like the Hulkbuster versus Hulk. I thought that whole scene's great. It's just
but mindless destruction.
Bit of a mixed bag, but broadly disappointing, and I think Infinity War is way better, and then Endgame is probably the worst in terms of Avengers films.
No, that's fair. Elsie Le Pen says Squid Game Season 3 trailer dropped as well. Thoughts? I didn't know that was out. No one's talked about it then. Yeah. Sorry.
They did that for themselves, damn it.
Yeah. Joey Foots says, hated Last of Us Season 1. Not sure why Mauler still likes it.
What do you mean Mauler? Fucking Drinker has nice things to say about it too. Why do I get singled out on this all the time?
Mauler, I think you're trying to gaslight me here. It was you who loved it.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think on that stream, there's loads of things that are to celebrate about it. One of the main things that's kind of annoying that doesn't get enough appreciation is it's like the most faithful adaptation of a game we've ever seen. It's and it's probably never going to happen again. Unfortunately, season 2 is grossly faithful as well.
Grossly faithful.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like it's
very much.
Very rare that we ever get that, and I don't know. It's enough to celebrate, and there's plenty. Yeah, there's plenty. I think is very good about it. If the game didn't exist, I think it would have done a hell of a lot better. But that that's a reality that should be considered. It is adapting. It's yeah, I don't know. It's not obviously I'm put off of the whole IP thanks to what they've done with it. So it's not like I'll be regularly returning and talking about how amazing it is. It's just that as a TV show, as it stood, I think it did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, you can only judge it at the time when it comes out, and then we knew what was going to happen with season 2. We knew they were probably going to be faithful to the games, and we knew what the result would be. So we at least got to enjoy most of season 1, which I think is fine. JS Pena says IDW is making a prequel to Event Horizon. Thoughts? Yeah, this one is baffling. It's about the first crew who engage the gravity drive and go to hell, and I can't help but think there's really not much of a story to be told there. The original movie makes it clear, they switch the gravity drive on and they get transported to hell and then just tear themselves apart in a big orgy of death and destruction. That's really all there is. So I assume they're just going to massively expand that backstory and try and do something more interesting with it. But good luck with that. Yeah, I can't see this one working out. Doug Schmidt says, thoughts on Andor original score? Best since Revenge of the Sith? I mean, again, I go back to episodes 7 and 8. The score there was absolutely fantastic for tension building, for drama, for pathos.
Yeah, a lot of really good highlights for the score. I do quite love it.
Hypnohype, I think we were asked this one, but I'll do it anyway. Hail to the bar. Just wondering if you've seen the comedy Four Lions. Love this type of humor in comedies. Yes, I've seen Four Lions. It's really fucking funny. Obviously a controversial subject to make a comedy out of, but I think sometimes the best way is mockery, and I think they did a really good job with that one. So yeah, it's actually surprisingly poignant and dramatic at times as well, which is very impressive work. So yeah, I like Four Lions. Right. Zeddy Boy says Mauler just finished Hannibal season 1. Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's really, really good. Check it out if you wanna. It's disgustingly horrifying, but also excellent.
Sam Wallace Art. With how negative everyone is on Last of Us, you'd think it's worse than Fallout or She-Hulk. I don't know, man. Day 1 was a banger episode besides that one scene being awkward. Day 1, literally just the first episode of season 2 then? Is that what we're talking about?
Is that what it's called? I don't know.
Hold on. Because I never make note of the episode titles. So it is... No. That's Future Days.
Oh, Day 1's episode.
Oh, actually... Oh, right, yeah. No, I really didn't like episode 4. I thought it was boring as fuck, and I'm so over the romance between Ellie and Dina. They've got no real chemistry together. The characters are boring as fuck. The action scenes were laughable. There's not a whole lot to find enjoyable about episode 4, I'm afraid. Not for me, anyway.
I have that assessment broadly for the season. I'm just like it's, but yeah, I think that was notably excruciatingly boring.
Ragtag Muscle says Cyril's ending was poetic. His pursuit of Andor cost him everything, and his quarry didn't even know his name. Cyril questioned everything in like 3 seconds. I mean, the whole episode is him like realizing that everything he believed is fucking wrong. But yeah, that moment in particular was pretty epic.
Yep.
Rossi says, Hail Drinker, Mauler, the little platoon, despot of Antrim, and especially my guy, Angry Badger. Excellent. Thank you.
Hail, yeah.
Lenny Nolfunfsane says, so, since there's debates about it, which Mon Mothma speech is better, the Andor one or the Rebels one? Andor, I would say.
It's a real tough one to choose between, you know. I'm gonna go with Andor on this one.
Barry Francis says, is Drinker wearing a toupee? It's so weird. It's like I got out of the shower and I didn't have time to like spike up my hair, and it's like it just looked like it was stuck on. It's funny. What's the next one? Box Brain Ben. What are your guys' thoughts on the Oblivion remaster or the second GTA 6 trailer? Do you have thoughts on these things?
I'm unfortunately a really bad person to ask about GTA. I just don't have passion for it. I think they're really well made, cool games, and I know it's one of the best sellers of all time. It's just the GTA 5, I mean, but like, yeah, I'm not even sure I'm going to play it. It's just never provided me an experience in gaming that I felt was sort of I'm trying to find the right words here. I don't want to say life changing, but enough changing that like it makes me super invested in it. I've always found GTA just it's a cool game. So
yeah, I mean, I think if I was asked to pick a Rockstar game to play, like ad infinitum, it would probably be like Red Dead Redemption rather than the GTA games. I just find that world more interesting to get involved in. But yeah, kind of like Mauler, like there's a lot of fun to be had just living in the GTA world and like stealing cars, shooting things up. It is fun. It's just not like I guess like you say, it's not like super life changing or anything. It's just an impressive as fuck game.
And it doesn't have to be. It's just not something I gravitate towards. I don't know how else to say it. It's one of those things.
Yeah. Charlie Douglas says Organa saying shit negates all of the good that they did. It didn't negate everything for me. It was a little bit like, oh, this is a strange thing to say in Star Wars, but
that's not even the first time the shit is said in the season.
Really?
Yeah, when Andor crashes the ship in the first act, he says shit.
Oh, I must have missed that one.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, oh shit, because
maybe mumbled it under his breath or something.
Yeah, it could be.
KC Masterpiece says, very happy to see Cyril grow a backbone and realize he was rooting for the wrong team. An epic redemption with a nice twist on my perception of him. Yeah. I've always seen him as a somewhat sympathetic character, manipulated by people into doing the wrong thing.
I mean, they're not subtle about his motivations. They want to make it. He has that big conversation with the Mosque, I think his name is, in season 1 about how these breaches in order and justice, they'll collapse the whole system if you're not careful. It needs to be sorted when it happens, and it's important. Yeah. It's about being accountable, responsible, and that people will take advantage of a system whenever they can. It's just like, yeah, they're trying to do good.
Yeah. Thumbs up 1981. Hi Drinker, I think your critique on teenage characters in your Last of Us video was incredibly spot on. Glad someone else feels this way besides me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw more, but like my point basically was that teenagers are often not particularly interesting people, either in real life or as characters, because they haven't really had a chance to do much yet. And there's a lot more to be found with older characters, or at least characters that can spark off each other with a bit of contrast. And yeah, having 2 teenage girls with broadly similar personalities and levels of experience and stuff going on a trip together, it's not very interesting to watch their conversations because they kind of just agree about everything.
I would say that that's proven on one hand with how Joel is so much more interesting by far with Ellie than another teenager is, because they just don't have anything to truly have conflict or bounce over. But secondly, look at Mando and Grogu not even being able to talk. Like, that was a huge fucking mistake. It was because just like what am I? We got a guy who's almost mute and someone who can't speak. It's It's this basic formula that we've done a million times. The older, more experienced, grizzled one, and the younger, more energetic and hopeful one. And the way they clash, it's dependent on how good your dialogue is. But there's a reason why it's I'd say tried and tested. I don't know why you'd break it and expect it to just you know exactly how to make it work. Two teenage girls having a chat. That's going to be the best thing ever. And by the way, it's not impossible to make it interesting, but they certainly didn't do it.
Yeah. John Gets Gaming says Despot's dive into British ads is a masterpiece. It really is. Like, the amount of work that man put into that video is insane. Master of Puppets. I'm not watching Andor, but people keep saying if you took it out of the Star Wars universe, it would still be good. Does that reinforce the argument that it's not real Star Wars? P.S. Ellie is going to be a dad, by the way. Yeah, congrats to Ellie. And yeah, well, this is an argument that we've kind of wrestled with several times on Open Bar about the nature of what Star Wars is now. Is it a set of values? Is it a set of themes and recognizable templates that things have to fit into, or is it just a big canvas that you could paint on in different ways? This is an issue that like each Star Wars fan I think has to wrestle with. Otherwise, you're gonna have trouble with something like Andor. Personally, I've much more come around to the idea that I'm very happy for this to sit within the Star Wars lore, within the Star Wars universe, and I think it does a real credit to fleshing out this universe in a much more mature way.
I agree. The conversation in general is probably not even that worthwhile, just because a lot of people have decided they will not or will be checking it out anyway. What is Star Wars? It's a fun conversation to have, but you know we can all agree Disney have made that an incredibly hard question to answer.
Yeah. Reddick says, "What would you like to see more? Sci-fi themed Lord of the Rings or fantasy themed Star Wars?" That's quite cool, actually. I mean, really, Star Wars is just lifting fantasy storytelling and putting it into a sci-fi setting. That's all it is. So it's not that big of a switch. I would fucking love to see like Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli taking on a horde of orcs with like chainswords and laser guns and stuff. I just think that'd be fantastic. So yeah, I want to see a sci-fi Lord of the Rings for sure. Red French Moon says, "Oh, I see Badger. Hail to the avant-garde." There you go. Ed Song. Mauler, I have an urgent question. If a man is about to blow his load in a woman and he gets snapped, is he a gooner? If he gets snapped back and he accidentally blows his load in a man, is the load man gay? Just asking for a friend.
I think it's got to be at least that we have to get the science team on it, but I think there is a little bit of gay in there if that happens, even without you being able to do anything about it. Just a tiny bit.
We need the science guys to measure the precise quantity of gay.
Which they've done it before. They can do it again.
Yeah. SC615. Andor follows the path of the prequels. First batch was awful, second was better, and the third was chef's kiss. That said, it still feels more like a story with a Star Wars wrapper than a Star Wars story. Yeah, kind of echoing what's been said before.
If it follows the prequels, what's the fourth act going to be?
Yeah, well, that's it.
I guess we'll find out.
Grand Dark Fan says, "But remember, guys, Andor isn't real Star Wars." Also, Plinkett voice, "Oh my God, Drinker, what's wrong with your hair?" David Gannon, Andor's sheer quality of writing and production gives lie to the concept that Star Wars producers prevent good things from being made. Yeah, I mean, we talked about that again. It's like they invested a shit ton of money in this. They did believe in it somehow. I'm happy it got made.
Yeah.
What was the next one? I think we might have had this on the night, but I'll try it anyway because it's not sure. But Play the High Note says, "I'm glad the panel likes Andor, but I've tried so many times to get into it and I can't get past episode 6 of season 1. And no, I don't care about pew pew, lightsabers, and Jedis. I just don't connect to the characters." It looks familiar, that one, yeah.
Yeah, because the thing that shocked me is like episode 6 is usually the first of season 1 that people agree is like, okay, that was really good. It's the heist.
Yeah.
Which there's just a lot of great tension, great payoffs. A lot of the stakes are very clear. A lot of people die. The way that they conduct the whole thing and the problems they encounter, and the way that the Empire twig onto the whole thing, I thought was all pretty solid. And there's sympathetic elements to the Empire throughout all of it. Fringy's mentioned it on different streams, but like the fact that they took the time to mention that there's Empire members who'd really like to see the Eye. It's just like this little bit of humanity in there that you don't often get from the other stuff.
That's always been the theme, and I think again I mentioned this on Open Bar, like the idea that like all the people that take part in the Empire, like from the highest level commanders down to like just the lowliest foot soldiers, are just humans. Ultimately, they're humans with human personalities, and so they have things that they like, things that they want to do outside of their jobs. And I think that's a very fascinating insight into like making us understand. Yes, these are just people like the
Yeah.
rest of them, people with different values and like who serve for all different reasons. You know, Cyril and Dedra are great examples of that. Two people who serve within the Empire fanatically, but for very different motivations. And I think that's really cool. That's great stuff. I want to see that kind of complexity. Craig the Bad Guy says, are there any specific characters or eras in Star Wars you'd like to see Gilroy tackle, or would you want to see what he could accomplish with his own IP?
I mean, wherever he's like most comfortable, most happy. Because obviously, working with Disney, I'd have to imagine you get restrictions. So maybe that's annoying. And he's spent what? Like he's been there now since Rogue One, so it's been there for a while. I could totally picture he wants to move on. Which again, go for it if you wanna.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
007 Angelo. Abby bites Ellie's fingers off and then asks, why do your fingers taste like fish sticks? Ellie replies, because they're dipped in Dina seasoning. Roll credits. Lol. There you go. That's how it should have ended.
Beautiful.
Henry, yeah, pure cinema. Henry Banks, do you guys have any interest in watching and reviewing the live action remake of Lilo and Stitch? Do you have any optimism that it's going to be good? So, kind of not really my thing. I don't know if I'd be a great judge on whether it's a good adaptation or not.
I quite love Lilo and Stitch, the movie. I think it's fucking awesome. Fringy's very invested in it. We're both big fans of that era of animation. I think Rags will be interested in covering it as well. Haven't heard from exactly what Platoon has said about it, but yes, we will definitely on EFAP be looking at the live action monstrosity. Because I'm sorry, like as much as I know that it's probably going to do well and people are going to like it, I really don't like the trend at all. It's gross.
I think that's fascinating that you're going to do a super in-depth EFAP on Lilo and Stitch.
Fuck yeah, dude. I mean, the thing is, like, you know, if Wally got its live action version, that would be the most incensed I've been in a long time. It's one of my favorite films of all time, even though it is quintessentially a children's film. It's like one of the best children's films ever.
It is a very good movie. I will give you that. Jimmy Chungus says Mon Mothma is one of the best Star Wars characters. I mean, she is now. Like the portrayal in this show has been superb.
Yeah, I'd say the extra work they've done for her now. It's gonna be weird seeing her in the OT again. You should be like, oh look, there she is. Strange they didn't give her much dialogue in the OT, considering how important she was and other stuff.
Yeah, if only they planned ahead. Jeremy Soden, damn it, signed up for Disney Plus so I can watch Andor Season 2 before the EFAP, cancelling it as soon as I've finished it. I think that's a smart move, really.
Sure.
Yeah, Methalus says, Mauler, I love you. Also, tell Az to watch Mobland already. I watched 6 episodes in 2 days just to hear you guys talk about it.
I'm trying to convince everybody to watch it. We'll get there.
Moving. Yeah, I'm watching it. I'm catching up slowly. So yeah, we should talk about it on Open Bar soon.
Yes.
Uncle Sam says, I love Andor. This is what can be done with competent people at the helm. If only all Star Wars projects from the last decade could have been this good. Imagine that. There is a crazy world where that happened.
Well, so for us, the final act is out in like what, a day or something. So, you know, it will be out likely when anyone's listening to this. And I just it's just kind of sad in a sense of like, well, that's it. There's not even anticipation, because I still think it probably was a good idea to release them in 3s. Ultimately, it's just compared to 11111, I don't know if it would have faded if it was that.
I think so. Yeah, I think this is probably the best way to get around it, and it's structured that way anyway to work in 3s, so it makes sense. Starbug Smeg says Andor's brilliance feels bittersweet. The feeling that I won't be seeing this level of writing, acting, and maturity in Star Wars again for a long, long time. Yes, it is.
You know what's worse than that is the fact that there's no reason that it would come back. As in, like, there's no. We've got all the information we need to know who's making what. So it's going to be a while until we get that hope again. Because no offense, but the creator of Deadpool and Wolverine making a Star Wars movie does not fill me with hope.
Yeah, I mean it shouldn't. Yeah. Snacks says, and I don't know if we did this one, but I'll try anyway. Anyone looking for a new TTRPG? I recommend Under a Hostile Sun, a D&D-esque game with a focus on space exploration, resource gathering, and puzzle solving. No woke Wizard of the Coast, just an up-and-coming developer trying to make a fun game. Thanks for listening. I don't know if we covered that on the night, but didn't seem too familiar. But yeah,
No.
Under a Hostile Sun apparently is a good thing. Rossi says, hashtag Palpatine poop propaganda. We need to know more about this.
Yes. Science bingo.
Yeah, emotionally unstable amphibian. Drinker, your hair and beard make it look like Simple Jack and Gary Beekler had a secret love child.
I feel like we hit that one before.
Well, it's so good I had to do it again.
Yes.
Absolutely fucking roasted the one time I don't style my hair, honestly. Brutal. That's the world of showbiz, Mauler. Get judged. I don't get to hide behind a gas mask. Riley Hill says, why does everyone's in The Last of Us Season 2 act and look like it's not 25 years post-apocalypse? They should all be very cautious and look homeless.
I wish they were more cautious, but oh well.
I wish they looked more homeless. It annoys me, actually, when they're wearing clothes that, clearly date back to before the apocalypse, but they look brand new. Everything's clean. It's well ordered. It's not frayed and torn and everything like it would be if you've been using it to survive for decades.
What bothers me is makeup. Really don't like seeing perfectly done makeup at the environment. It's like, come on.
That's a concession to TV, though, isn't it? Like they have to be in stage makeup.
I think that it's cooler for any given TV show to do without that, but of course you might actually be going up against actor contracts and stuff at that point.
Yeah. It's like I have to look beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dork Ritual says, also, can we get some Fs in chat for Cyril's mom? She's the reason he's such a son of a bitch. Well,
I mean, yeah, I thought it was kind of sad. It's a kind of multi-layered tragedy, right? So the fact that she now knows that his son has died, but there's also the angle that she hated the Gormans thanks to the propaganda. And was warning him to stay safe, was warning him the job is no good for him, he should get out of there. And she even says, like, I hope someone's looking out for you in case anything was to go wrong. And he's telling her, no, the Gormans are really good people. The Gormans are all... And now the story officially is the Gormans did an uprising and they killed him.
Yes.
Like, that's just really sad for her. And, that's the Empire's plan. It's working.
I wonder if she'll get any closure on that. I wonder, actually, right? What would you say the possibilities are that Dedra might turn
into a Sith Lord?
Well, possibly, yeah. That she might turn to the Resistance.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know that we'll see her again. We've got so much to do in these last 3 episodes. I don't know. We might see her, but...
I only say this, right, because it's kind of interesting that Cyril saved her life. Whether he actually meant to do it, I was never entirely sure. I don't know if he could see what Andor was aiming at.
Sorry, my brain melted. You're talking about Dedra, right?
Yes, Dedra.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, no, yeah.
That's why I said her.
More... No, I was thinking of his mum for some reason.
Okay.
What can we expect from her? We'll definitely get more seasons of her. She's super important, but the nature of the end of her story, I don't know if she overcommits to the Empire. I have to assume she's going to have a confrontation with Luthen Axis, right? That's like been her whole campaign.
Yeah, but I just feel like there's a reason why it was Cyril who ultimately saved her life, because she's clearly like in doubt about what she's doing.
Yeah.
I think his confrontation with her really shook her belief in what they were doing on Gorman.
She's been awkward about it throughout the whole season. If you were to ever give it a rewatch, just keep an eye on her. She's very unsure of everything that's happening. This is definitely going to have shaken her. There is a chance, yes, that this is too much for her.
And wouldn't it be interesting if she turns and either saves Andor's life or does something that considerably helps the rebellion? So in the sense of, Cyril actually did do something useful with his life. The fact that he saved her life and then she saved someone else who was critical to the rebellion. I think that might be kind of interesting to see. I don't know.
I'm revved to see how this 3 episodes close out. I want to see what they're doing with everybody.
Where to Wander says, my God, it's nice to hear the panel talk about something with passion and gratitude, especially about something that I really like. Cheers, gents, and Andor. It's nice to be able to do it. It really is. I think we've been lacking that a little bit recently. And God, it's nice to just feel positive about something.
Yeah.
What's that? AGM says Aurora Borealis at this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen. Superintendent Chalmers from The Simpsons. I mean, yeah, that is what he says. I mean, I don't know why they threw it in there, but sure.
Steamed hams.
Yeah, or steamed clams, as the case may be. Yeah, I think I've now reached the point where we encountered some of the ones that I did on the night, so I'm just skipping through them to get to the next batch of new ones. So bear with me for a moment or two. Yeah, Starbug Smeg. I think we might not have done this. Just imagine for 1 second what the writers of and actors from Andor could have done with Last of Us Season 2. That would have been interesting indeed.
Yeah.
Jeremy Soden, with relative perspectives, I would probably not be as fond of Rogue One, despite its flaw, if everything else Disney did weren't so awful. So, yeah, I mean, it's all relative, I guess. It's been so long since I've watched Rogue One. It would be interesting to rewatch it now after doing Andor and just, comparing it with my memory of it and being like, okay, does this hold up? I'm not sure if it would.
I mean, it's obviously going to do better than, like the sequels, but yeah, the question is just whether or not you watch it now and think, hey, that's actually, not so bad by comparison to some of the other thoughts I had on it initially, because we've got more on people like Cassian or, how the rebellion was formed, all that sort of stuff.
David Gannon, maybe someday Disney will turn things around and I'll subscribe to D+ again, and then I'll give Andor Season 2 a go. Well, you can always sail the high seas in between. You don't have to pay for it. Albert Nada Retro. This past weekend, the Netherlands honoured the Canadian veterans who liberated them from Germany 80 years ago. I'm an extra proud Canuck. Well, congratulations, sir. Nice one. Yeah, Jaden says, I hope they land the next 3 episodes. We need a good Season 2. I mean, we've had it so far. I honestly, even if they weren't great, I would still be pretty happy with what we've had this season. I hope they do stick the landing, though.
Yeah.
Starbug Smeg. Mauler, would you still put Mon Mothma as best character of Andor Season 2, or has another developed more in your opinion?
I'm sorry. I love Mon Mothma, but Cyril and Luthen are still higher up for me. Especially, it'll really depend on these last 3 episodes, how they seal off Luthen's story, but he's had so many pieces that have been built throughout the season that I'm like waiting for a pretty big and meaningful ending for his character, which I imagine will push him to number 1 for sure. But Cyril is pretty high up there. I could talk for a while about how meaningful Cyril's stuff is, but doesn't mean that Mon isn't really good as well.
Yeah, it's great to have a target-rich environment for good characters, isn't it, in a show like this?
Mm-hmm.
Chad Admiral Thrawn says, Thrawn suffers from dueling writers. Zahn writes him as a good guy in the current canon. Filoni wants a villain and gives Ahsoka unbelievable plot armor. Yes. And it's difficult to give your protagonist ridiculous plot armor and still make the villains look competent.
You can't write competence. That's the huge problem. You could say that it's giving Ahsoka plot armor, which is definitely an element, but he also just doesn't. You can have Ahsoka win while Thrawn does intelligent things.
You could, in theory, if you're a good writer, yeah. That'd be nice.
And you could have Thrawn be like, didn't anticipate that. There's clearly moves I need to respect, understanding here, as opposed to, nope, this is all to plan. Losing was part of the plan, actually. Okay.
David Gannon. Drinker, you said you don't know where the TIE chase scene came from. Yes, you do. It came from TFA. Well, the theft of the TIE did, at least. I know. That's why I put it in my video talking about it. I'm not sure what that's referencing. Is it just like an offhand comment I made on Open Bar the other night? But yeah, I know why they put that TIE chase scene in there. I think my issue was more like creatively, why did you choose to include it when you didn't need it? But, yeah. Jedi Dad says, I could see Palps showing up at the end, confronting Luthen, showing us he was truly a Jedi. That's how I feel. Something guiding me. Great takes, guys. I hope they don't do things like that. In fact, I hope they don't have Palpatine in it at all.
I think they are going to commit to 0 lightsabers throughout the whole process now of Andor Season 1 and 2.
Isn't it great to prove that point that you can have a Star Wars show that doesn't have lightsabers in it and still have people absolutely gripped?
I mean, certainly portions of the audience at the very least. But
Well, yeah.
the way I see it now is, I wouldn't have been surprised at all that they wanted to prove that they could get through this story in a very meaningful way without even touching. They haven't even had Tarkin turn up, right? Nor not a recast nor CGI monstrosity. They've just had Krennic, which I feel like is appropriate, being that Krennic the Death Star was his project.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously such a massive part of Rogue One as well, so it makes sense to tie in with that and give him that extra
I mean,
build up.
K2SO was an original Andor character, right, for the film. I mean, Rogue
Mhm.
One. And they knew the audience loved him. And I saw an interview regarding Alan Tudyk and Gilroy's perspective on all this. It was like sad news to Tudyk that he wouldn't be in until episode, like as late as the end of episode 9, literally the last like 5 seconds. And it's like, oh, really? And it's like they said yes, but we're gonna make it very, very meaningful, and the time we get him, we're gonna make it all worthwhile. Like, make the dialogue punchy, make the relationships work and stuff. Like, we're not just gonna have him to have him. We're gonna have him because the story needs him.
Sure, yeah. It's
Which,
funny, I'd almost forgotten about him from Rogue One, and then when the K is it KX droids or something?
yeah.
Yeah, when they show up, it's like, oh yeah, it's one of them, isn't he? That'll be him coming into the story. But I was just like, we don't need him necessarily. I could just totally buy that Andor met him at some point in between the show and the movie.
So it's said, and it's just so true. The moment where Cyril sees the KX droids is kind of the same payoff as when Catelyn Stark sees Roose Bolton's wearing armor at the wedding.
Right. Yeah.
It's just this shit of like, why the fuck is that there? And it's like, why it's there.
Yeah. Cameraman says, thoughts on Cyril's end? I thought his switch to Cassian was jarring since he seemed past it. He should have taken a bolt from an Imperial in the square in sight of Dedra against the Empire's disorder. No, I'm very happy with what happened to him. I loved that fight scene between the two of them, and I love how unexpected that final line from Cassian was. Just, who are you? And that's enough to just stop that man right in his tracks. And just that little tiny hint that maybe he might have turned to his side if he'd had more time to think about it.
And think, it's been how long since Cassian has had a fight like of that kind and that passionate? It was like actually confusing to him. It's like, you really are invested in killing me. Why?
Yeah.
What's going on? And obviously,
why do you keep trying to kill me?
No, we're invested in killing each other. We're like nemesis or whatever. He was like, not really. And yeah, I think it's utterly fantastic, the choice to have Rylance deliver the execution there, and his reaction to the whole event later. That actor was man, they're just getting good performances out of everybody. Remember, he's got the gun dropped on the floor next to him. He's just listening to the destruction, the message like playing out, and the fact that he was the one that killed Cyril, like when he's like the peacekeeper out of all of them. That's
tried to prevent the whole thing.
This is a bit of an unfortunate reality about Andor. A lot of people didn't even know who that was, and it's like, oh man, if you did, it would hit a lot harder. As in, if you noticed him from the other scene,
fucking paid attention.
Well, the reason why I remembered him is because I was like, oh, it's the guy who got killed by the Bear Jew in Inglourious Bastards, if you remember. He's the German.
Yes, I do.
So I was like, oh yeah, very distinctive face. So I caught on to him, straight away in terms of just remembering what his character was and what he was doing. And he was the one that said to Andor after he cautioned him on everything, it's like, you're not very much a revolutionary. And Andor was like, yeah, maybe I'm not. Because they were rushing too much there, which I really like that as well, that Andor's gotten to the point where he's so experienced with all of this and recognize. Remember, they say like, we've got an informant and he's getting us all the information we need, and Andor's like, the Empire like do that on purpose, right?
Yeah, much more. Yeah, because they're kind of
excited with your progress, but you don't understand it goes way deeper than that for layers. And the fact that they're talking about Cyril, who is at that point a double agent, it's just like, oh shit.
Yep. Arm514 says, Dank Farrick, Mauler. I never wanted to hear it again after your Let's Play.
Man, they really wanted it to happen. That's all I can say about that.
Tiki the Mighty says, Frel came before Frack, you sci-fi tourists. It did, yeah. That's true.
Frelling
Yeah. Chris also saying, Dank Farrick, Mauler, Dank Farrick.
I fucking hate it. I really do.
Ginger Jedi. I found out recently that the actress who plays Dedra in Andor also does the voice for Yennefer in Witcher 3. Yes, she does. She sounds very different in this, so yeah, I guess that's the skill of a voice actor, isn't it? She can sound different playing different characters, but yeah. Isius Isophidus says, I'll only watch Ironheart if they'll call it female. Not a great joke, but it works periodically. Well, I like that. Back in Storage says, hey, Drinker, when you can, check out Ivan Ortega's review of your short film. He has good editing insights. He's chill, thorough, and would be a good addition for future projects. God bless you all. Cool, I'll take a look at that, actually. Ivan Ortega. Will Dreamer says, in the Lost World novel, Eddie's heroic death is even more brutal. He lifted the girl to safety, then was eaten alive by raptors who took their time.
Why are they so mean?
Fucking raptors. Eric Chung, violence has always been part of Star Wars, but sex has always been a complete non-factor. There's never been a reference to regular sex in Star Wars beyond the character being pregnant. Rape is a jump.
Yes, there has been references to that before. A lot of people, something that annoys me. I didn't watch.
Try that one day and just go, how about some regular sex?
I didn't watch Clone Wars, but I've seen people do posts of like a summarization of references to sexual assault in that. There's even that in Clone Wars, the show.
Right.
So I was just like, okay.
I think, yeah, it's just purely when people see it like actually showed on screen, like in that sort of brutal, visceral way, it just takes them to the next level.
It is an uncomfortable scene.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Obi-Wan Can Blow Me says, I wish Mobland had hour episodes instead of 40 minutes. So many threads are interesting and deserve more development, but it feels like they're a bit rushed.
I haven't felt that. As much as the episodes, I wish they were longer just because I like it. There are 10 in the season. It depends on how we end here, because I will say the episode I am up to, the question I had at the end of it was like, this can't be one season, right? Because there's way too much to do. Like, I'd be really surprised if the story just ends after because I've only got 2 episodes left now. Or 3, 2? It doesn't matter. Either way.
Yeah. Imperial Fist Stan says, literally nothing you can say will make me watch Disney Star Wars. The idea that Disney made anything lasting in Star Wars is untenable and will not play out. I mean, I can't force you to watch it, but like, I mean, all I can say is like, it's good. It doesn't make any sense to me that, you'd refuse to watch it just because it's made under that banner. It's a very different team of creatives from pretty much everything else that Disney have put out.
Yeah, like if you never ever want to see anything Star Wars ever again, it's like, all right.
Yeah, it's your choice.
Yeah.
Zephyr says, seeing the Imperials using their own soldiers for martyrdom is pulled from the EU. They had these Imperial intelligence agents carry out riots and framed assassinations against the New Republic. It's good stuff. Very good stuff. It gives you a great insight into how the Empire works. And I just love the notion as well. Like, the more Imperial troops that get killed during that massacre, the better it is for them. It's almost like that's mission accomplished, because like it looks better from a propaganda standpoint. And so they can just keep feeding more and more troops into that meat grinder.
I saw a couple of criticisms that were like, why did they even bother putting out any of their men instead of just using the BX droids? And it's like, because they did want people to die. And there was a point where they were like, well, now, like once enough has gone on, the BX droids will just end the conflict.
Yeah, well, that's
they
it.
even go outside the plaza. They just continue to kill people. That's another criticism I saw. It was like, it was only like 20 people who died. It's like, there was a lot more than 20. And they went way further than the plaza.
Exactly. Deathly Salt. 2 things. Holy shit, the new arc of Andor was incredible. Yes. And off topic, has anyone played Expedition 33 yet? If not, please correct at the earliest convenience.
I'm going to try and get to it at some point, though we are days away from Doom coming out. The Dark Ages, which I very much want to play myself. So that'll be my next thing, I think.
The Rad Dad Realtor says, fun fact, since you mentioned Sergeant York, the Sergeant York was one of the worst tanks designed by the US. It almost fired on bleachers full of spectators. Cheers, panel. How's that work?
I'm not sure.
Like, did it malfunction? Did it become sentient and start doing its own thing? I don't know. Macho Taco says, I bet Dedra's new promotion will be onto the Death Star. Okay.
There's definitely, I think I've seen people say, like, what if Partagaz ends up on there? It's like, that could make some sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Partagas is one of my favorite characters, and I'm worried that he's not going to get an interesting ending. That it'll instead be he has one last ISB scene where he just orders them to do stuff, and that's that. I'd like a meaningful ending for him, and putting him on the Death Star would, I think, have quite a dramatic irony to it.
It would be quite funny. I'm not sure there'd be much reason to have an Imperial ISB director on board the.
Well, it could be
Death Star?
considered a promotion, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You're now a subordinate that's in charge of sector whatever of the crown jewel of the Empire, and he's like, oh, great. He's like,
yeah, the Grave Walker. Gilroy should do a Game of Thrones show. It would fit him perfectly. Imagine if he did Robert's Rebellion in a 2 or 3 season arc. That could be quite good. Could be quite good. John says Jurassic World Rebirth was filmed in Thailand, Malta, and the UK. Fantastic Four was filmed in the UK and Spain. Superman was filmed in America. Conclusion: Trump is a DC fan. Sure. Next one. Dragon Ball Z. Andor is not Star Wars because Andor is actually good. Can't fault the logic. Tomato Truck. Greetings all. My deployment to Washington, D.C. should come with hazard pay, but no. Also, Despot, have you been doing something different with your hair? Clearly he has. It looks fantastic. Shaker Silver. D&W and Minecraft get butts in seats while quality like this gets bogged down in lazy bad faith critique. No wonder we're sleepwalking into an era of slop. That's sad but true, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Despot certainly had the little bit of the sobering chat about that in that episode where he's like, Thunderbolts got arguably universal praise. Arguably. Like, we didn't like it at all, but I've seen a shit ton of celebration for that film. It's just like, damn. It's terrible.
It is terrible, yeah. It's
right.
doing okay at the cinema as well, I think. Is it 270 million?
Is that okay? Is it even beating out Eternals yet?
I haven't seen the comparative tracking or anything. It seems like an okay total so far. It just depends what the hold's like. I mean, I imagine it's going to get obliterated when Mission Impossible comes along, but that's still a week or two away.
As far as I know, it's tracking worse than Captain Falcon, so it's fucked.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll retract what I just said there.
As far as I know, I'll say I could be wrong.
Jarrell says, Tony Gilroy says they've mixed multiple episodes of Andor to play in theaters. Disney's interested in showing the finale leading into Rogue One. That could be cool. Sebastian says, please talk about Andor episode 9. Episode 8 was epic, but 9 got some great stuff in it too. Yeah, absolutely did. I mean,
yeah, I really like it as well.
Yeah, I mean, 8 dominated the conversation, obviously, because it's the most explosive and the most gripping, I think. But yeah, 9 was fantastic with Mon making her speech in front of the Senate, like the build up to that. I love even the fact that like the ISB is keeping on tabs on her. They don't know if she's going to speak, if she's actually going to do this speech, and whether she'll get a chance to get it out before she's shut down. It's all great stuff, and that's it, really, isn't it? Like that's them burning their last bit of political credibility to get that message out there, because after that she's obviously she's a fugitive.
Did you see the tweet that was going viral? People picking out, it was like there was no point in her doing the speech because she was like she should just leave. She should be wasting her time talking in the Senate. It's so weird because like, man, I think the episode went over for a long time about how necessary that speech was, what it's for. And then the speech itself kind of justifies itself, talking about the nature of truth, trying to name who she believes is the monster in front of everybody on a public forum. They try to shut down the speech because they know the difference it can make. It's all good stuff, but all right, fair enough.
It's like everyone's entitled to be retarded, I guess, sometimes. Freckle Jesus Official says, what's up and bar? It's your girl, Freckle Jesus, coming to you to share the exciting news that I'll be returning in Avengers Doomsday. We'll be back smashing flags and praising facts. Eat it, haters. Yeah, I can't wait to see you back, man. I want that actress to be in everything. She's so goddamn charismatic. It's amazing.
Isn't she done now? Like, she popped up for a while now. I just haven't seen her in a while, so.
Oh, she'll be back in something, but yeah. There was maybe like a 3 appearance contract with Disney. So, you had her in Willow, you had her in Captain America, or sorry, Captain Black Falcon Man and the Winter Douchebag. Solo. Yes. So she's kind of done her little tour of everything now. I just love the fact that she was a major component of Willow, the show that was so bad it got erased from existence.
Love to be a part of a production that is actively like hidden by the creator. It's like the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah. Where to wander? Americans, seeing children massacred in school, we sleep. Seeing sexual assault, hearing the word rape, we freak out. The selective moralism is pretty odd. It's an odd one, yeah. Like we talked about that quite a bit before. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure. That 5-minute scene in the original Star Wars with Moff Tarkin and the other officers discussing the stolen Death Star plans is greater than Andor. I mean, I wouldn't say so, but
I just say that it cooperates with Andor. It's nice to see that effort's been put into, that sequence with Tarkin and the little council they have post the Senate being dissolved and with the rebellion having been built. It's like Andor gives you a lot of context for it that I think benefits.
5280 Drone says, I can no longer describe Andor as the worst character in the show. His line, make it worth it to Mon, hit so hard. So much depth that was missing from season 1.
I mean, there's the end of episode 8 where he's listening to the broadcasts and just driving away injured and after having experienced everything on the plaza. It's just I think his expression kind of covers it. A bit of a 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah. He's been through the shit. Azurix.
I was going to say, I've come to like him a lot more as a result of season 2.
Yeah, definitely. I think the actor gets to do more as well, yeah. Azuric says, Gilroy spoke about this. He was making a point. The beast in the jungle is a metaphor for the Empire, and the rebels are fighting with themselves. It was overly long, but revolutions were run by young and ignorant people.
Yeah, I mean, and they contrast with people like Saw Gerrera, Luthen, Mon, these different leaders in different positions, all the way down to just this rabble on Yavin. I understood it. I just don't think it was time well spent. That arc, and I think they were a little too retarded. Honestly, like I way prefer the incompetence of the Gorman rebels, like the mistakes they make. I think that was way better handled than the Yavin rebels.
Yeah, it was just jarring and quite frustrating to watch. Jay Fraser, hail gents. Rome's showrunners, upon knowing that season 2 was its last, blazed through its planned 5 seasons in 2. Is Andor season 2 repeating this with its time skips? So was the original plan to have like 5 seasons or, more than 2 of Andor?
I hear different things, but that's what I've come to understand. I believe that's the case, that it was 5, and that we can broadly assume that each of the 4 arcs we're all going to have a year's worth of time in this. But of course, they've also cut out probably a lot.
I mean, to be totally honest with you, I'm okay with the structure as it is. I don't feel like I wanted 5 seasons of this necessarily. There is...
I mean, I would if it were top tier,
I mean, yeah, that's all theoretical, but then would it actually harm it to try and spread the narrative out that much to the point where, it was getting criticisms for being quite slow paced? It's like, damn,
I thought season 1 was real solid. If it really is dependent on how much story they had to tell, because we haven't had a lot of Luthen in season 2 up to this point. So if it means more scenes of everybody, including him and other characters that don't get as much, for example, the Saw Gerrera side of the war, we've had some good stuff. It's just not much, and I just feel like, it's a shame that a lot of it had to be crushed down. I don't know what the perfect amount of seasons would have been. Maybe 5 is too much. Who knows? But I probably would have opted for more than 2.
Jaden says, I had faith in Arcane. We all did, sadly. The Lil Can says, hello, Bar. I don't know if you guys have discussed it, but my only issue in Andor was Mon's speech. She has no real evidence in that moment to write the speech that she did, saying that it was unprovoked. I mean, she's in contact with the...
I was going to say, she's like a
rebels.
Big part of the Rebel Alliance, so she would have all the information she needs.
Jim Heimer says, today is my birthday. My late wife's was April 30th, so this month... fucking blows. Fuck cancer. You guys keep me going, strange to say. Yeah, I like all that, man. Fuck cancer, and I'm very sorry about your loss.
Yeah.
Daniel San says, hello, guys. Hope all of you are having an amazing day. Drinker, will you be playing the new Dying Light, the Beast game? If you haven't played Dying Light, I would recommend a playthrough. I have played Dying Light. I completed the first one, and it was fun. Got a bit repetitive towards the end, but overall, it was pretty cool to have an open world zombie game like that. Trevor says, Drinker, try Helsing Ultimate. You won't be disappointed. All right, I'll try it. Sergeant Stoic, theory. Stephen King has been dead for 2 decades. His insufferable children are just masquerading his X account and dead corpse around. I think that's plausible, yeah. Baron says, watching episode 8 today of Andor, and during the massacre scene, the ice cream van went through my house. So it went by my house.
Okay.
Went by my house, and I thought it was part of the scene. Okay. I don't even know how you could rationalize that one. To Sam Wallace says, to me, the whole point on day 1 in the show is Ellie starts off faking bravado, but it's actually caught off guard by how intense Seattle is. Way better than the game where she's just bored by it. I mean, I thought in the game she was more about like she's way more focused on her mission. You know, it's like she's super driven. She wants to get to Abby and fucking kill her and kill everyone associated with her. In this, she's way more like. Well, in this, she just seems like really happy-go-lucky, and she's like joking away and swapping banter with Dina. It just doesn't feel like Ellie in the slightest. Daniel Thompson, love your stuff, guys. The Despot is a Chad. I think the best book that I've ever read is by the great Elmore Leonard. Cheers from San Francisco. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Victor Von Doom, Will, you're bulletproof. You're my hero, and you are hilarious at times 2 speed. I get all that insight in half the time. Love and respect. Yeah, well, whatever works for you, man. Snacks says Bella Ramsey already looks like a clicker. Bang, brutal. Pokey says, I saw pregnancy tests were used in the clip. This show is set 20 years into the apocalypse. Where did they find the tests, and how are the chemicals still active? The line "I'm late" would have worked better. It would have done, yeah. I mean, they ransack like a drugstore or something, so that's where they get them from. As you say, I don't know how they would still work after so long. Surely they would have just like decayed, or the chemicals would be inert by that point. I don't fucking know. Nor do I particularly care. Sogner T says, what's worse, being born in a zombie apocalypse or having Ellie as a father? I mean, it's a tough one, actually. I think I'll take my chances in the apocalypse. Paul Stramby says, I really hope to see Marcus Kane and Alex Yates in Trial by Fire. Alex became such a cool character as the series progressed. He was great fun, yeah, and I liked how he was kind of an everyman. Yeah, like in a series that was all about, you know, secret agents and soldiers and mercenaries and that sort of thing. He was just kind of an asshole. And his one good thing is that he knew how to work computers, and that was pretty much it. I don't think he's going to be in Trial by Fire. That is more focused on Frost, and at this point in the narrative, Alex wouldn't be in it yet. Flavored Insecticide says, it's interesting that in the game, Ellie is pretty angry that Dina would hide that she's pregnant for so long when they're in a suicide mission. Making the show worse than the game is an achievement. It really is, yeah. Again, it's just like, they're all just happy because she's pregnant. Yay, she's going to be a dad. There's no thought to the implications of any of this. It's so fucking retarded, man.
I just struggle to care about either, you know, the game or it's like, is it better than the game? It's like, fuck, dude. I'd have to refamiliarize myself, which I don't want to.
Yeah. Jay Fraser, Mr. Grizzy's Last of Us videos also got hit by HBO. Yeah, it's bullshit, man. It really is. John Papa Sergio says Last of Us equals Walking Dead light. It's kind of what it feels like, yeah. James Moore says every time there's a genuine improvement in the show, there's 4 things made worse. Finish it and watch season 3, if only for the hope of the punch. KLN says waiting for the drinker's take on Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I mean, apparently it's good and I should play it. I don't know about you, man. Maybe you're different. At this time of year, I find it harder to get into video games, especially if it's like nice weather. I'm just kind of like, I want to be outside.
That's never been a problem for me, Drinker.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
But no, the problem for me is genuinely I just got so much work to do. Getting into, there was 2 different games I got into in April, and they did exactly what I was worried they would do, which is I liked them and I played them, and the time I spent playing them, I could have been doing way more work. So it's how it goes.
Yeah, I get you. Dearest says, you will see Druckmann's vision like never before. The Last of Us on ice. For all ages. Exclusive ice cream bigot sandwiches opening night. That sounds delicious, actually. Count me in.
Mhm.
Normal Man. Riri Williams is exceptional. Exceptionally dumb, that is. Shaker Silver. Ratatouille 2. Anyone can be Tony Stark. Apparently so. Kevin O'Neill says, I guarantee they're going to recycle the I'm not Tony Stark line in the worst way possible, and the shows will clap as expected. Of course they will. The show's going to get 100% all round. Michael D. One of the last things that Cyril does is to save Dedra. Andor has her targeted and is ready to fire just as Cyril attacks him. Just perfect. Yeah, I was making this point earlier, right? Could Cyril see what Andor was aiming at? Or was he just like, no, I see this guy and I want to fucking kill him?
I think it's up for interpretation as to exactly what was going through his mind, but like for me, it was he's seeing red, and Andor is the confirmation that there truly was a outsider influence on the Gormans, which was his whole project. But like, you know what I mean? There's so much going on in his head at once. I feel really bad for the guy in terms of like just trying to figure out what the fuck he's supposed to do. But as for whether or not he knew to 100% that Andor was about to kill Dedra and he stopped it, I think I mean you'd have to really look closely on the scene and see if that feels explicit or not. He knows he's aiming at something that's gonna like that's the general area, right? So
yeah,
it's an
I do like your
interpretation.
explanation there as well. It's like he's got so many things to unpack at one particular moment,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, if in doubt, just beat the shit out of the guy. I suppose makes sense.
I think there's no reason to assume he wouldn't have been able to notice that. We don't see like when Andor raises the gun. I think it's on him for a while until Cyril tackles him. So there's the space to assume that Cyril looked, and then got him. He's
Yeah.
like, I know what you're fucking aiming at. That's my girl that I just tried to kill. I'm the only one who can kill her.
Yeah. LC Le Pen. Apparently, there's a logging truck driving around with a promotion for Final Destination Bloodlines on it. Made me laugh. They know what they're doing. I've seen the video of that, actually. It's pretty cool.
All they need to do is keep the budget down and they'll make money. Just keep it low.
Yeah. They're pretty reliable, those movies. TJ Crink, first time catching the bar live. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Disney Marvel learned all the wrong lessons from Deadpool and Wolverine. Yep, trust them to do that. Shady says, first time seeing you live. Saw Warfare in theaters after your last stream. That part scared the absolute piss out of me. Such an incredible movie. Good, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Intent matters. Yo, Drinker, when are you going to invite Reaper back to the bar? I miss that scruffy old bastard and his Scouse accent. That's a good point, actually. I don't know if he's been watching Andor or anything like that, so I don't know if he's best equipped for this week's, but I'll definitely get him back soon. Helvetica says, this might have been said before, just joking, or joining even, but what I'd love to see is a well-written series or movie trilogy based on the Darth Bane books. Sure.
Well written,
well
being
made.
the key there.
Yeah. Jay Fraser, in its prime, which supporting character of The Simpsons did you want more screen time for? Perhaps even an episode dedicated to them. Disco Stew, for example.
Well, so that's like a different question than who's your favorite, I guess, right? Because some of them have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Who did I want?
Duffman.
He was fun.
I liked him.
It's the problem for me is I'm trying to figure out who crosses the line of getting enough time as is, because like you have to understand, Sideshow Bob was one of my like highlights whenever he was on screen, but he gets like one episode per season at most usually.
Yeah.
So it's like, would that count?
But then would you want more of him, or is he best used sparingly?
Healthy grammar, good writing, yeah. Like especially that era of Simpsons. But even to an extent, like Groundskeeper Willie, if someone said like, no, he gets a lot, I'd be like, yeah, but he's funny as fuck. I'd happily have more of him all the time.
Dio Martinez, a Vader series should be treated like a reverse version of the Highlander series, where he kills a different interesting Jedi in every episode. Yeah, sure. Albert Nada Retro says, hey Muller, Elvis did 31 movies. EFAP when?
What movie?
Elvis, he did 31 movies in his time. Most of them were terrible, apparently, but
yeah, probably not gonna EFAP those. But maybe, who knows?
There
Who
probably
knows?
won't be too much to pick apart plot wise. It's just like a vehicle for him to sing.
Mhm.
Pretty much everyone. That right there, though, was the last of the super chats. So I want to say thank you to you guys for joining us the other night. It was nice to be positive about something for a change. I liked that, and I'm glad you
Yeah.
could join us for it. But you will catch us on the next open bar on Thursday. But for now, that is all we got for today. So go away now.
Bye.